Alright, you all asked for it and here it is, another video about one of my vacations. Well, actually, nobody asked for it, but that's not going to stop me, no sir. So, the family and I recently went on a multiple week-long trip through southern England. We camped in various locations with our rooftop tent and spent about a week or so in different Airbnbs around Cornwall as well. And of course, I brought a metric shit ton of camera gear for photography and learned a thing or two along the way as well. I may or may not have even bought a new fixed lens camera while I was in England, but I'm getting ahead of myself. With all of that, it would have been a bit of a waste to not make a video about this trip, and so I guess this one is for all four of you who actually care, and mostly for myself. Anyway, I'm not planning to bring you on the entire journey because that would easily make for a 2 or 3 or 4 hour long video, which would also be incredibly boring. And so I decided to instead just talk you through one day we spent in and around Carbis Bay, a stunningly beautiful little place in Cornwall just outside of St. Ives. Now we got to Carbis Bay after spending multiple days at an Airbnb in Falmouth, and we used that time well to pick out at just about all of the wonderful restaurants and pastry bakers, as well as to roam around, take tons of photos and visit places like St. Mars and so on. Just FYI, I also already made a video about a day we spent in Falmouth, and so if you want to watch that as well, feel free to do so. In Falmouth, we got a good dose of that infamous British summer that you always hear about, meaning that it was overcast most of the time, temps in the early mid-20s, and a bit of light rain here and there for good measure. Not complaining though, because at the same time, back in Germany, my friends and family were going through one of the worst heat waves in a long while, and so yeah, we really appreciated the nice change of pace in southern England. Still though, when we got to Carbis Bay, we hoped to get at least a bit of sunshine in the mix as well, and thank God we actually did. Even on the day we went from Falmouth to our next Airbnb in Carbis Bay, we already got our first proper taste of summer when we visited Lizard Point. And so we settled into our new Airbnb, grabbed some dinner at the local beach club restaurant, and woke up the next day to more sunshine and blue-ish skies. And with no real idea where to go and what to do, we headed out on a leisurely stroll towards St. Ives. Well, good morning and welcome to Carbis Bay. It's our second day here. We are currently on our way to St. Ives actually. It's a slightly overcast but beautifully mild summer day, and so no idea what the day has in store for us, but we are very much looking forward to it. I did of course grab a few shots on my M11-P on our way to St. Ives, and once we arrived, our first mission was of course to grab some pastries at the local Cornish bakery. After eating a day's worth of calories, we decided to go in different directions because my wife wanted to go shopping or whatever, and since I have no interest in such pointless activities, I decided to go down to the harbor and take photos of seagulls instead. Okay, so if you've never been to St. Ives, you have to know that the seagulls there are no joke. If you dare to eat something out in the open, these fuckers will come down on you in droves, grab your food, scare you in the process, and shit on your car for good measure. Trust me, because this is a lesson that I've learned the hard way. And even though I didn't get jumped by these flying assholes this time around, due to the sheer number of people out and about, they were swarming all of the time. At least it made for some interesting shots. I particularly liked this one, which looks almost like it was taken with a drone or whatever, but no, I took it with my M11-P with the 35mm Voigtlander, believe it or not, and it was pretty much a 360 no-scope at f8. It may look like I'm flying next to that bird rat and watching it as it is picking out its next victim, but no, I was actually just stood on the harbor. Looks very atmospheric though, in a very unusual way, or at least that's what I think. You might completely hate it, I don't know, but if you have a different opinion, you're probably wrong. Anyway, I took a few more photos here and there, but after 20 minutes or so, my blood caffeine levels got dangerously low, and so it was time to grab another coffee. And so I met back up with the missus and we went into Yalla Coffee. Great vibes, excellent coffee, and they actually roast their own beans locally in Falmouth. And on top of all of that, they had this big old window with a great view of the small lighthouse in the harbor. And so obviously I had to take a few more photos with my Leica M11-P and the 50mm Summilux this time around. Again, I usually don't like talking up my own photos too much due to some deep insecurities around my photography and my whole personality, but I really like this shot. I think it is moody AF. I edited it so that you could still see some of that atmospheric light coming from the ceiling, but I purposefully darkened out the bar area and the other customers to the point where you just barely realize that they were there, which in turn left two clear subjects: the lighthouse, which sits prominently outside of the window, and the woman gazing out into the streets, her face slightly lit up by the daylight coming through the window. She looks like she's thinking, perhaps daydreaming. I don't know, again, not one to talk up my own stuff, but this one makes me feel something other than embarrassment and regret, and that's a rare thing, so I thought why not share it here. Anyway, as it had started to rain outside, we spent a good while in that cafe, but eventually the sky cleared up once again, and so we headed back to Carbis Bay, and yes, I took a few more photos on the way as well. We spent the afternoon at our Airbnb pretty much just lounging about, but we had plans to head out for sunset because we knew that nearby there was a beach, and from that beach you could see the sun setting right behind a small little island with a lighthouse on it. And we knew that because we actually been there before, and the first and last time that we had watched the sunset in that place, my wife was still pregnant with our little boy. And so about an hour before sunset, we made our way to that beach. And obviously I brought some camera gear as well. But curiously, the first camera that I decided to use was rather different, because it was actually a film camera. Now I don't think I want to talk too much about this camera in this video, but I will say that it was pretty much what you would call a bargain find at an antique store in South England. I bought it for a whopping £10 and had no idea if it would actually work or not. For anyone who's interested, it is a Ricoh F50S. I had never heard of it before I bought it, and apparently neither has anyone else on the internet, but it's essentially a point-and-shoot camera. It has a fixed 40mm f2.8 lens. You get a viewfinder patch, but no way to actually check focus, but you have to zone focus manually. You can set the speed of the film that you're using, but the camera does all of the rest in terms of the exposure, whether you want it or not, meaning that there is no way to manually set the aperture or shutter speed. Now I've bought 2 rolls of Portra 400 while we were in the UK, and I shot both rolls while we were there with that new camera, and I just sent them off to a lab for development. And so right now, as of this moment, I have absolutely no idea if I just flushed a chunk of money down the toilet or if this will become my new addiction. So let's see about that, I suppose. For now though, all I can say is that it was a lot more fun than I would have thought shooting with it, and I will probably talk more about it in a different video. But yeah, after possibly getting some shots with my new antiquated toy, I decided that it was time to bring out the big guns. Now you see, the last time that we were there for the sunset, I had my Leica Q2 with me, which has a fixed 28mm lens, which just didn't really work with that type of scene. Plus, the Leica Q2 is an incredible camera and I love it to bits, but in terms of dynamic range, it's really not all that great. And since I didn't want to have the same sort of trouble again, I simply brought the dynamic range monster, aka the Hasselblad X2D, along with my beloved XCD 55mm prime, which is a 43mm in full frame equivalent terms. The scenery itself was obviously stunning, but the real star of the show for us that evening was, of course, our little boy. My wife may or may not have started crying tears of joy a few times while we were there. It was all just a bit surreal and emotional. Being back in that place now and having our little guy there with us, strolling around the grass and gazing into the sunset with a beaming smile, when the last time we sat there he was still in her womb and we had no idea what he would look like and how it would be to meet him for the first time. And once again, not one to talk up my own photos, and I probably like these shots a lot more than I actually should because of the emotional weight attached to them. But yeah, I think I got a few keepers and a few shots that I will probably cherish forever. We stayed there for a while, even after the sun had already set, and obviously I packed away my cameras eventually to just be there and to be present in the moment. When we got back into the car, we decided to drive back to our Airbnb with the idea to go to our local beach, which was just a 6-minute walk away from us, and to go for yet another little evening stroll. But pretty much as soon as we drove off, our little guy actually fell asleep, and so my wife offered to stay with him, allowing me to go for a little stroll on that beach just by myself. And so I decided to do just that and bring the Hassie for company. Now, I did take a couple of photos and I was actually very happy with a few of them and very impressed with the ibis as well. But more importantly, that blue hour light and the calmness of the beach with the sound of the softly crashing waves just hit me right in the feels. I cannot tell you how incredibly calming it is to stand here on the beach right next to the ocean with the waves going off. Sunset's long gone, past behind me. The missus and the little guy are waiting for me. The little guy is actually falling asleep. Yeah, it's just beautiful. I gotta get a move on, but it's really, really beautiful right now. Very much in line with my mood then and there was a person that was just sitting there. Nobody else around, just still. Perhaps contemplating, daydreaming, pondering, who knows. Either way, it looked very peaceful. And so I sort of did the same thing. I just stood there and looked out into the sea and listened to the ocean for a while. When I got back to the car though, I got this banger of an X-Pan shot completely by accident. I pretty much just heard that there was a train about to come by and I fumbled to turn my X2D tube back on. Settings were still those from the X-Pan panels I took at the beach, but hey, I think it worked. And that was our day in and around Carbis Bay. And again, just a short little glimpse into our vacation. Obviously, we did a lot more while we were in England, so there are a lot more stories to tell, but I think that's enough for today. In conclusion, all I can say is that it was a wonderful vacation and we just love being in England. If we had the time, we would love to roam around and explore so much more. And if we had the means to, we would probably just buy a second home in Cornwall as well. But since that is not an option, we just have to go back there until there's nothing left for us to explore. And next time around, probably next year, I hope we'll make it to Wales, because I would really love to go to Wales. But yeah, for now, I'm just happy and grateful for the vacation that is just behind us. Now, again, if you want to see the video that I made about a day in Falmouth, feel free to check it out. I will have a link somewhere or in the description below. And also, if you want to follow a bit more closely with whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm trying to be a bit more active on Instagram and posting the odd story here and there, and I posted quite a few stories from England. And so if you want to be the first to know when I buy a new used film camera or whatever, just feel free to follow me on Instagram as well. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in another one. Until then, take good care. Bye.